very much for the question. I will delve into the question that spoke about the cannibalization of the ZSC from VFX. I think maybe I'll just take two steps backwards around the spirit of the creation of the VFX. The spirit was around increasing FDI, and I think that is going to be also around the solution that we are proposing. We've proposed the increase of requirements in terms of counters that are going to move from ZSC to VFX, to say you have to indicate that there's a certain threshold of FDI that is coming through, because I think it's fundamentally a miss that I think the last delisting is Dairy Board. When you look at Dairy Board, it's an entity, unless there is further FDI that comes through, it's an out and out entity that is Zimbabwean, and VFX becomes, but also from a business perspective, you then also get to understand, because when you look at that then leads to the second part around the solution. When you look at what we have done for ZSC, is the only asset in Zimbabwe. Is the only asset in Zimbabwe. Even Honorable, going to Chipinge, Pabeshna, if you are able to buy Majanje in dollars. But ZSC is the only asset in the country that trades. We value and we understand the importance and the criticality of our currency, but the emergence of a multi-currency regime emanated from the pertinent need for us to expand to make our economy more dynamic, and we have hamstrung the ZSC to be limited to the local currency. So part of the solution that we are going to do is we've also placed a proposal for something called a derivatives exchange. It's just an exchange that is going to tie for every trade that happens on ZSC without necessarily it being dollar denominated, but we're going to allow the pension funds that have got extra liquidity to be able to use either the dollar or the local currency for the trades on ZSC. So that will effectively even the playing field around liquidity. And then the next thing that we've made a plea as well is to remove the capital gains tax on ZSE, because currently there's no capital gains tax on VFX. There is capital gains tax on ZSE. So that removal effectively will allow the evening of the playing field. But furthermore, what has been happening is now from a Securities and Exchange Commission perspective, we're also now looking at expanding the possible options that investors are able to do in terms of just, because previously I think we were limiting just to equity counters, and then your equity counters, it was just your ZSC and your VFX. But now when you look at what is happening globally, we now have, I think when you look at your environmental sustainable financing, your carbon credits, your renewable energy certificates, those are also options that we are bringing and licensing through our sandbox to enable investors to be able to have other options that effectively will assist the domestic market in terms of expansion. So from an evening the level playing field, we're just looking at trying to capitalize on that. But having said that, from a revenue generation perspective, IPF and also Securities and Exchange Commission are looking. We are almost now sealing an agreement with the International Financial Service Center in terms of supporting, because the Securities Exchange Commission has existed for the last 18 years. So in terms of institutional memory, in terms of even the capacity that the exchange has, the Securities Commission has, it's not going to, we'll be reinventing the wheel if we decide to say the Victoria Falls Center replicates the same. So there are certain services from a commission perspective, from an investor protection perspective, that we're going to be giving them and assist in terms of revenue generation in a revenue shared model. I submit. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Maybe because of our time, please try to be very brief. Thank you.
On the collection side, we're talking about the 0.025%. So that is calculated on the consideration. Consideration is the price times the number of shares. That's where we collect. So when you are buying and when you're selling, we collect on both. Then going to unclaimed shares. How unclaimed shares came to be is because before Securities and Exchange Commission came to being, there was stockbrokers who would handle the money and handle the shares of the clients. It was like a club, sort of, under ZSE. But now Securities and Exchange Commission came, Chengete Zai that they were talking about came, and now we separated functions. The banks handle the money. We have custodial banks when we are buying and selling shares. We have Chengete Zai and the ZSE custodial who handle the actual shares, and now not in physical form, but electronically. So it's even more secure. And then we have the brokers who just do the trades, and the fund managers, they just do the trades, but they don't handle those. So the risk of the unclaimed shares has almost been eliminated. The ones that we are talking about are the ones that emanated from those days. That's why the Securities and Exchange Commission took all the shares from the brokers and handed them over to IPF. Thank you.
Yes. Just to add, Honorable Chair, just to give an example of the point that was made earlier.
Please make it very brief, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I won't take long. Let's just imagine that you buy a share on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. Under the current arrangement, you are then protected, but the counter then moves from ZSC to VFX. Now, you then don't have the same protection. So someone can actually come back and say, I was protected because I bought my share under VFX. I didn't make that choice to move to under ZSC. I didn't make that choice to move to VFX, so I've lost my protection. So there is that gap which needs to be explored and covered, because that is currently not covered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we still have any interventions from honorable members? Please, just one question. Yes, Honorable Kareni.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick one. I just want to hear from the board, Mr. Chairman, on what criteria does the board use to determine whether an investor qualifies for compensation, and are there any common reasons why claims are rejected?
Okay. One more from Honorable Shudua.